Hey you guys, I'm Asmara and welcome back to the channel. So today we are doing something a little bit different. As you can tell either by the title or the thumbnail, I'm talking about a Disney movie today. Turning Red is a movie that I recently watched. I've seen it a couple times, one just to see it initially, and then the second time to actually extract more themes from it and kind of formulate the script of this video. And I just want to start off by saying Pixar movies, especially like in recent years, have this way of taking really like deep themes and making them into movies that are enjoyable for kids, of course, but honestly have a deeper message for adults. Like if you think about Soul, which came out a couple years ago, like that movie is literally about like losing your passion, losing your soul, and like what it means to, live with purpose, the meaning of life on Earth. Like that's a really deep concept, and they make it into like, a Pixar film. Also Encanto, which I love, again is about kind of like healing broken family ties, and it gives a great examples of like the roles that often go unsaid in families, but also, fun for kids, but deep for adults, And I definitely felt the same way about Turning Red. So if you don't already know, I'm gonna give you guys a brief, plot synopsis, and this will obviously have, like spoilers as I'm talking. But Turning Red is about 13-year-old Meilin Lee, otherwise known as Mei Mei. Her character is just like a confident dork, as I'd like to say. And the story is really about her going through what the director calls magical puberty, which is personified by the red panda. There's like a family gene with the women in her family where every time they get an intense emotion, they poof into a red panda. And so that starts happening to Meilin kind of as she's already going through, hormonal and bodily changes. But at its core, Turning Red is about really honoring yourself despite the unfamiliar changes you may be going through, and then also through the not so sexy side effects that come as a result of really growing into your own person and learning more about who you are and embracing that. I actually watched the documentary that's also on Disney Plus about Turning Red. I believe the documentary is called Embracing the Panda, and the production designer, whose name is Rona, she said this really powerful quote, which I feel like just sums up what this movie is about. Can I still love who I am knowing that I've become somebody I'm not used to? And I feel like that's really just, reflective of where Meilin's at in her life. But also I found this to be really true and permanent to my life, and I'm sure many other people have related to that sentiment as well. In the case of Mei Mei, she is like literally going through like puberty and bodily changes, hormonal changes, changing interests. But you can take that in a broader sense in general. An unfamiliar change might be moving to a new place, starting a new job, quitting a job, going to school, stopping school, having like a changed family structure, like a new member to the family, a member lost from your family, a new relationship, like anything that contributes to a changed lifestyle. And one of the main themes that I found, throughout this movie is really about just embracing who you are despite these, evolving changes. It's like being able to be authentically you when you are ever changing and ever evolving. And there's this definition of authenticity I really like, which is matching your outward expression to your inward experience. And that's something I definitely have saw a lot throughout this movie, is Meilin learning how to do that. But then also kind of reflecting on my own life. Something that I've been learning recently is that there can be like negative outcomes to positive change. Or maybe negative might not be the right word. Sometimes they are negative, but uncomfortable outcomes even to positive change. And that's something that I think Meilin also goes through throughout the movie. For Mei, one of them is definitely like disappointing her mother, you know, no longer being her mother's like good little girl. That's an idea that I know that I can definitely relate to, especially if you're someone who like grew up like doing everything right or being, you know, the good one in the family, doing everything by the book. The moment you don't hold up to that standard, it feels like you disappoint people in your life. Meilin has a lot of fear about losing her mother in that process, which in some cases in real life, you know, do be happening. Or losing family members or family members not being okay with how you've changed. But disappointing people can go beyond his family. It can be friends, it can be, you know, people at work, it can be just societal expectations that people place on you or people that look like you. It doesn't feel good to feel like you've disappointed somebody or feel like you've failed the expectation of who you were supposed to be. And that kind of leads me to another kind of side effect of sort of embracing authenticity. And that's honestly learning how to be honest with yourself. You know, once you start sort of letting go of the ego of who you think you're supposed to be or who different people in different circles see you as, it's scary to honestly kind of step into this unknown territory of thinking your own thoughts and seeing how you really feel in the situation, expressing your honest opinions or your honest emotions, standing up for yourself. And once you do it more, like the easier it gets, you know, just to kind of be yourself and to know when it's you talking versus the voice of what you think other people think that you should be. I know I do that all the time. Like I be in situations and like I'll realize I start stuttering over my words when I'm trying to formulate an answer that I feel like the person wants me to give, as opposed to just being myself and saying the honest answer. And sometimes in some situations you don't necessarily want to be, you know, completely honest or completely authentic, but I know I do that all the time. I notice when I do it, when I'm trying to tell somebody what they want to hear about me as opposed to just saying what is really going on or what I really think in a situation. And another kind of side effect that I thought of that also comes with sort of this journey of being learning to be more authentic is the idea of setting boundaries. And once you're actually being true to yourself and honest to yourself, you also have to be honest about your needs and what you can take, what you can't take. And honestly, sometimes like that journey of setting boundaries can be kind of lonely. Not only I feel like can it be disappointing to like the people who are no longer benefiting from you kind of always going along with the flow, or other people benefit from keeping things the way that they always been. And especially when you're a person, if you've grown up as the good girl, being somebody who rocks the boat is also going to affect the people around you who benefit from you never saying anything. I know for me, this current season or the past few years of my life have kind of been this turning red moment where I've sort of started trying to be more intentional. We making up words today. About living more authentically and actually, you know, like having my outward expression reflect more of my inward experience. And that's a lot of the reason I started this YouTube channel. I think the year 2020 honestly like was the start of that for me. That was sort of the catalyst of what if I actually started listening to more of what I think and not what I think other people need me to be. Being a chameleon, like switching up who you are in different groups, in different spaces, be tiring. Like, honestly, I would be, especially throughout high school, I did this, and I still do this. It's not like, I'm perfect, I learned this and now I'm all good. I still do this. It's something I need to constantly work on. But, bro, like I'd be like a different person at school versus a different person at home, a different person at church, a different person online. Like, and it's not like none of those versions of me were completely inaccurate, but I never brought 100% of myself to any of those spaces or to any room that I really walked into. And I definitely noticed that, and this is actually something I started unpacking in therapy over the past couple of years. My therapist is like, girl, like, we need to work on being more comfortable with merging all the different sides of me into having her being seen more regularly, as opposed to having like sections of me that I bring out different places. Learning how to have me be me most of the time, you know? And of course, there's going to be situations where there's parts of yourself you don't necessarily want to be out all the time, depending on the situation and the context, but for the most part, it shouldn't feel so exhausting to like be code switching every time you walk into different spaces or walk into different rooms. This could also just be good girl syndrome. Maybe y'all in the comments, if any of y'all can relate to that, we could talk about good girl syndrome. Have any of you guys resonated with that? Like the recovery from like not being perfect, I feel like is harder to process when you've learned to always kind of be your best or to do your best your whole life pretty much, or your kind of role was sort of to be the one kind of holding stuff together, whether you place that on yourself for, you know, whatever reason, or that's been placed onto you. And so now I want to kind of talk more about times that I have honored myself and what that's done for me. I think, like I was saying before, like start of 2020 is when I kind of started to explore what it might look like if I begin matching my inward experience to my outward expression. And that's actually a big reason why I started this channel. I felt like if I find it so difficult to be to kind of combine the parts in my daily life, what if I tried just to make a YouTube channel, and so that I didn't have the expectations of other people? And even with streaming, which I've been doing a lot recently, and I found a lot of fun. I literally have only started streaming this year, but something I definitely have learned about streaming is that it's a great way to for me at least, to sort of embrace kind of imperfections when you're literally live and, you know, you can't edit things out. But it gives me an opportunity really just to chill and be me for, you know, 2 hours, 3.5 hours. The stream's been getting kind of long recently. Again, without the expectations of what roles I'm supposed to be filling in this community or this group. Like, I really just want this channel just to be me. And if I can't really feel like completely like I can be me in any other space, I want to at least have one place where I can just let it out. And for me, this channel is that for me. And of course, I want to work on combining more of my parts in my daily life, but this channel was definitely a first step. It's kind of confirmation that there are people out there who connect with that and who vibe with just me, and me, you know? But also, I have several times where I don't honor myself. And even comparing it to in the movie, that there's like a scene it's like Tyler's party where Meilin literally turns her back on her friends. She lies to her mom saying that she doesn't want to go to the concert, even though that's been the whole plot of this movie. They want to go to this Four-Town concert, and she literally turns her head when her friends are trying to tell her mom that this whole thing was Meilin's idea to begin with. Which also, by the way, maybe she's a hustler. Like, that, those are some good entrepreneurial skills that they have, but that's besides the point. But that also kind of leads me to sort of the side effects of dishonoring yourself. Like, when you're not being honest to yourself or to the other people around you who may even not agree or be used to this new you, or an evolving you, as I should say, it causes you to lie to other people around you. It causes you to sort of go behind their backs, to sneak out. Dishonoring yourself causes us to like code switch, which, I mean, and again, in some circumstances and contexts, code switching is kind of necessary. You know, sometimes if you want to get a job in certain circumstances, you need to put on a certain look. But just in daily life, taking it out of like the work world, switching how you act around certain groups of people versus how you act in other groups of people, which I know especially minority people, especially Black, I know Black people can relate to the experience of like feeling like you have to be different people with different groups. Can't be too Black around white people, but can't be too white around Black people. Shameless self-plug, but that's also kind of an extension or an extended thought from like my "You're Not Black Enough" video. I'm gonna just plug that if any of y'all are interested. But code switching is something that definitely comes as an effect of not honoring who we really are. When we don't honor ourselves, we shrink. We let other people and others' expectations of us, societal standards, we allow those to have greater weight on our lives and how we decide to live when we're not confident enough to be ourselves and to own that. We give away our power to people's opinions who honestly should not hold as much weight in our lives as we oftentimes allow them to. Even with people who, wish well for us and who want the best for us, like in Meilin's situation, it's her mother. But at the end of the day, her mother is not her. One of the opening quotes of the film, which I thought was really great, it's honoring your parents sounds great, but if you take it too far, you might forget to honor yourself. And I love that. And of course, I don't want to discredit that, when you are also talking about different cultures, in America and the West, it's very much an individualistic culture. We're very passionate about our independent rights and freedoms, but in many other cultures across the world, whether that's even in South America, or we're talking about Eastern countries here, Meilin is Chinese Canadian, there is more of a focus on family in their culture, and there's nothing wrong with having family be a priority, but I think what the dilemma we're talking about here is that it's okay to also be your own person within your family. It's important to have enough of your own sort of authority over your life while still valuing family. It's possible to have both. So I would just want to mention that because, of course, in different cultures, family is really important, and what you do to support your family is a big part of just how they live and how they move through the world. And there's nothing wrong with that as well. But like Meilin said, it's also important to honor yourself even within that, because at the end of the day, this is the only life that you're gonna get. Would you want to spend the majority of that being always trying to live up to what somebody else wants you to be? Or there's going to come a time where you're going to have to eventually start listening to yourself and valuing what it is that you want to do, what it is that your thoughts are, as opposed to always what other people wanted for you. This is another quote by Dr. Brene Brown, and I feel like I've been quoting her a lot in my last few videos. I don't mean to do that, but it just reminded me as I was sort of writing notes for this video of something that she said once, which was, you can never live the life that you want and not disappoint anyone. And so you have to choose. And another thing I sort of started thinking about also as I was reflecting on this movie and just the parallels I've seen in my own life, and it's the reasons why we don't honor ourselves. A lot of people in general know the things they should be doing to, be on a better path with their lives. Even if you take it as simple as something like health, if your goal is to lose weight or to gain weight, most people know that, hey, if I want to be healthier, I need to exercise, I need to eat better foods, I need to get better sleep. Most people know the things that they should be doing to achieve their goals, but what prohibits a lot of people from doing those things are the things that get in the way. And so there's so many reasons why we don't honor ourselves, and I think one of the biggest ones is fear. Fear has a very concrete power of prohibiting us from doing the things that could be really good for us. Fear has a very powerful way of stopping us from doing things that could even be connected to our purpose. And a lot of that has to do with, in Mei's case, disappointing our family, disappointing the other people around us, disappointing ourselves even. The fear of failure is very real. And that's a big reason I didn't even want to start this channel. I feel like I use the same examples when I do these videos. Granted, I'm only 20 years old. It's not like I have a breadth of experience to, pull from at this point in my life, but I'm hoping y'all just kind of by talking, y'all can find parallels in your own life. Fear is a big reason why I'm in kind of my current season of life, where if I'm being completely honest, the past several months, I want to say probably starting end of 2021, when I took my that break at the end of the year, I feel like that was sort of the start of me trying to honor myself, but then not, and just sort of getting off of this path of really honoring what I truly want back to what is just familiar. A big reason people stay in the places that they are is because familiar feels safer. Sometimes even familiar things aren't even comfortable. Like, without going into too much detail, I don't necessarily like the place in life that I currently am, but at the end of the day, to be in a place that's familiar honestly just feels safer. Like, you know what to expect, and as humans, we thrive off of predictability, and of course, life is unpredictable, and that's unrealistic to have most of the time. But that's a muscle you have to flex, is like to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. That's the only way that growth can happen. But listen, sometimes it feels good to feel safe, so to speak, or to feel familiar than to step into the unknown where anything could happen. I know a reason for me that I dishonor myself, where I don't, I guess, make decisions that I know I should make, where I don't leave positions I know I should have left, or I leave and then I come back. Honestly, like, a lot of the times even I get tired of being disappointed when things don't work out how I want them to. I get discouraged very easily. I feel like I keep trying to put myself out there, like it doesn't work out. And again, I'm a very, like, it takes a lot of energy for me to do these sort of things and for me to put effort towards certain goals that I have. But it's like, I know the only way I'm going to overcome and the only way I'm going to eventually find my breakthrough or find the thing that clicks is by continuously putting myself out there. But girl, this be taking a lot of energy and I just be tired. Like, sometimes I'm like, I just want to go back and revert back into my hobbit hole, which again is not what is the best for me, but is familiar and is safe. It's not even a place that I enjoy really being, but it's safe. It's familiar. I know what to expect. It's predictable. And another reason I sort of came up with of why at least I don't honor myself is because it's scary to go your own way, and it can be a lonely path, especially when you don't have people necessarily set up in your life right now that can kind of relate with you and walk with you kind of on your journey. Or if you don't necessarily have people who support, you know, the unfamiliar path you're going down. In the case of Turning Red, it's like Meilin at the end, which, again, spoiler, she decides to, you know, keep her panda and sort of embrace the weird sort of quirk and sides to her. She's the first in her family to do things not the expected way. And especially when you're making a decision that is like where you're the first in your family or the first in your group or your social circle to do something, and the people around you may not agree or necessarily support your decision, at least in the beginning, that can be really lonely, and people don't, I guess, talk about that. Again, I feel like I always see people either speaking about it like from the end, like once they've made it through and now their family is supportive, or at the end now everything has worked out. But when you're going through it, like it feels lonely, and honestly it just kind of sucks. I feel like it's okay for things to be rough, and I think we need, and I'm kind of talking to myself here, we need to have more room to allow people just to be going through it and for it to be okay. I know I get annoyed when people try to tell me stuff when they've already made it to the other side. Like, of course it's gonna be easy for you to tell me this when you already, like, you're already here. But like, sometimes I just want somebody to walk with me here. Like, I'm not here yet, okay? I'm at point B. I'm trying to make it to point C. But it's okay to be at point B and just be like, this sucks right now, you know? This path is lonely right now. I wish there's more room for people to sort of meet you where you are and to be like, it's okay that things aren't the way that you want them right now. And in the case of Turning Red, of course, this is a Pixar film. They have to have very quickly, you know, like enticing event, climax, and solution. Like, we gotta wrap this conflict up in an hour and a half. But real life is not like that, and it can be sort of a different in-between process for everyone. Or different length of time for that limbo state between kind of going through the changes and then seeing the results at the end. In the process of it, it can kind of be difficult. It can feel like you're sort of, you know, trying to navigate, how do I embrace this new person that I'm evolving into while still also dealing with some of the uncomfortable and difficult side effects that brings. Forcing myself to not code switch every time I walk into a new room, or being more comfortable, being more open, being more of who I am more of the time. That is a skill that people don't talk about in the process of going through change. When you're just, at the beginning, looking at the end goal, it's a long journey. When you're in the middle of that journey, it can be rough, but it's okay to be there and for things to be a little bit challenging. So yeah, those are kind of like the main reasons I find that I don't honor myself, and I'm sure many of you can relate to this as well, or even just a couple things on this list. It's feeling disconnected, feeling lonely, during the changes, the hard parts of the changes, the uncomfortable parts of positive change. There's also that feeling of failure, or that feeling of just being disappointed when you are trying to make positive change and things don't necessarily pan out how you want them to or how you expected them to. I know the end goal, I know the goals that I have, but sometimes it takes a lot of trial and error, to actually get to that place where you see the fruits of your labor. But until then, it's okay for things just to be hard. Life is not going to be like a Disney film where, we got the conflict and we got to wrap it up in an hour. There can be longer or shorter time periods in between there, and all of that is okay and all of that is valid. And I just hope to remind you of that. I know people don't really talk about that often. And something that, again, I was talking about in therapy is to also recognize how far that you have come. I know I'm definitely the type of person, it takes a lot for me to make sort of the necessary changes that I feel like I need to make in my life to get to my ideal goals. And I feel like I'm a slow bloomer, but sometimes even those baby steps, it's so important that we look back into how far that we have come. That's a word right there, okay? This is another reason I love journaling, is because sometimes it can be kind of like a literal indication of where you were, say, a year ago versus where you are now. And those little steps deserve to be celebrated, especially if you're somebody who makes slow progress, or if you're like me and I start progress towards a goal and then I stop for, many months or a year and then I, take small steps to continue. That can be celebrated as well. It's okay to be slow towards your process of healing, towards your process of evolving, authenticity, towards your process of moving towards your goals. Better slow than never, okay? It's like the turtle and the tortoise and the hare. We don't always gotta be fast and speedy with it, but the journey is something to experience and to be present in. It's okay to be present when things aren't the way that you expected. It's okay to be disappointed, and it's okay to embrace the not so sexy side effects of embracing who you are, the evolving version of you. The last quote from the film, which I love, says, "We've all got an inner beast. We've all got a messy, loud, weird part of ourselves hidden away. And a lot of us never let it out. But I did. How about you?" So that's a quote from Meilin at the end of the film, where she's sort of at a point where she's accepting that she's different from her mom and she's different from her family. And it's okay to step out into that. It's okay to embrace the weird quirks that you have. And for hers is literally personified by a red panda. But those different sort of weird parts of ourselves that we don't necessarily share all the time, or let out all the time. Can also be a message for us to be okay with being more of ourselves more of the time. At least that's what I took away from this film. Oh my god, I've been filming for nearly an hour. How have I been talking for an hour? But yeah, that's pretty much it. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like. Subscribe if you enjoy this type of content and want to see more. Is free, and you can always change your mind, but I know you won't, because your girl got some fire, underrated content on the internet. And leave a comment below. Have you seen Turning Red? And if so, could you resonate with any of the sort of themes that it explored? Whether or not it's sort of stuff I talked about here today, or something else in the movie that stood out to you. I would love to know. And I kind of want to talk about other Disney films. I want to talk about other things on this channel as well that maybe aren't just video games. So maybe I will talk about some other Disney films as well. I think that would be fun. I love watching animated movies, so maybe we can do this more often. But again, yeah, thank you guys for watching. My name is Asmara. Let's continue learning and growing together, and I will see you guys next time. Bye, everyone!